Right now, there are 50,000 people in New York City without power. 50,000 people without power. It's around 85 degrees. It's dark. Ask yourself, how many of those 50,000 plus people are prepared? I was reading some of the reports coming in, and if you're in the New York area, please comment down below and update us with what you're seeing. Hopefully by the time this video airs, power will be back up, but there's a big possibility that it will not be. So we have 50,000 plus people, Con Edison customers without power on a warm night. It's 85 degrees there right now. Here in Palm Springs, California, sun's going down. It's probably in the high 90s, 95, 97 degrees, pretty warm. And it makes you think, if something like that happened here, what if it lasts more than an evening, more than a day? When you're dealing with elements like this, extreme heat, people start getting frustrated every hour that goes by because they're hot, they're thirsty, maybe they're hungry, refrigeration is out. Of course, the stores are going to be wiped out immediately. So it makes you think, and we talk about this all the time, being prepared. Most of these people in these reports say that they were surprised that this happened. We always talk about the word surprise. The masses are going to be taken by surprise. And here's a prime example of the masses in New York City taken by surprise. 99.9% of these people were completely unprepared for the event that just took place this evening. And we don't know how long this is going to last. Hopefully they get this city powered back up, and hopefully we're not going to see too many crimes. We're not going to see too many emergencies. Right now, the police department, New York City Fire Department, extremely busy. And they know every hour that goes by that they're going to see an uptick in crime, emergencies. Remember, it's warm. There's no air conditioning. They're going to have some big problems here if they do not get this power back on tonight. I was just walking through the clubhouse. I don't play golf, but I was in the clubhouse and looking at the people in the clubhouse here. Probably 99 out of 100, these people are completely oblivious to what's happening in New York City right now. As I said, we have nearly 50,000 people without power in the largest city in the United States of America. Extreme outages on the west side of Manhattan, people stuck in elevators. The New York Fire Department is responding to numerous calls. Outages in subway station complexes throughout Manhattan. Subway service is limited. This is the weekend. A lot of people took the subway into New York City. Now they cannot get out. What are these people going to do? How will they get home? If the power is not restore tonight, what are people in New York going to do on this hot, balmy 85-degree evening in New York City? What are the tourists going to do that can't get out? What are the store owners going to do? You know, they've got to be worried about burglaries. They got to be worried about vandalism. And of course, fire department, just as busy as probably they can be. Police department going to be responding to multiple crimes. And as the night goes on, if this power does not get restored, I believe the police department is going to have a very, very, very busy night on their hands. You know, when we take into account the two major earthquakes we just had here in Southern California, and now the largest city in America has a major power outage. And what's even more odd is that New York City had a major power outage on this exact day back in 1977, 42 years ago. To this date, July 13th, New York City had a major outage. Is this some kind of ominous message? And how many people just say, this could never happen to me? I live in New York City. I live in Los Angeles. I live in Chicago. We're too big to fail. The grid can't go down. Things like that don't happen in America. They don't happen in big cities. And it just happened. Biggest city in America, New York City, power down, 50,000 people taken by surprise. To all the people out there watching this video, This is just another reminder. And we're not going to talk about anything economic. We're not going to talk about metals. We're going to talk about trauma kits, food, water, and your number one asset, security. If you were one of these people, what if this went on for 2 days, 3 days? By the third day, you would have so much violence in a city like New York that people wouldn't know what to do. The police wouldn't know what to do. You'd probably have to send the National Guard in. And from what I've seen, that's probably pretty worthless. So again, in these situations, you are on your own. If you're in a big urban city, especially a city like LA or New York or Chicago, you are going to have to be dependent on yourself. You need to have your own trauma kit, you need to have your own food and water, and you need to have your own security. There is no calling 911 and getting a police officer to your house in 5 minutes. They're not coming. These guys are going to be so busy tonight. Every hour that this outage carries on, it's going to get busier and busier for the fire department, for the paramedics, for the police. So, do you think it's a good idea maybe to have a trauma kit, to have some food and water, to have some security? If you were a store owner, how would you sleep tonight knowing that that store, that there's no power downtown, that store is just sitting there? You think right now the wolf packs aren't getting ready to go out, rape, rob, and pillage New York City. Listen, the power could be on as soon as this video goes up, and I sure hope it does. I certainly don't want to see people get hurt. I certainly do not want to see a large city like that sitting for hours and hours with no power, because we all know what that leads to. So hopefully by the time this video goes up on YouTube tonight, the power's back on. But if it is not, every hour that goes by, it gets more dangerous. And this is why every one of you needs to be preparing, taking the opportunity on a beautiful weekend to go out and get your ducks in a row, to get your system situated so that if you are ever in an emergency, maybe it doesn't last a few hours, it lasts a few days. What if it lasts a few weeks? Again, we've had major earthquakes out here. If they cannot drive food in through I-10, the entire valley here is in massive trouble. You are on your own. And right now, as I'm speaking, it's 95 degrees. How long do you think people could survive in this desert with 115 degree weather that we had today? 115 degrees today on July 13th. How many days do you think people could last in that with no electricity, no air conditioning? The amount of senior citizens out here, young children, most people could not survive in an environment like this. So not only would you be dealing with crime, you're going to be dealing with the extreme heat. New York City, they're having some pretty hot weather now. They're not used to really warm weather. I am. I live in an environment where I think I would not have much of a problem with that, but I know a lot of people would, especially older people. But in New York, people aren't typically used to 85-degree evenings, and people start getting irritated the longer that this goes on. The longer there is no power and it's warm out, people start getting irritated. The police aren't coming when they call. They can't get medical attention. So it's going to be a complete nightmare the longer that this goes on. I hope that New York gets the power back on. We do not want to see anybody hurt, but this is another reminder, another sign, another warning to everybody out there why it's imperative to have food and water, to have a trauma kit, to have security, because you are going to be dependent only on you. So ask yourself this: cyber attacks, attacks on the grid, EMPs, you name it. How fragile is the American grid? How unprepared are people for very bad days here in America if this grid goes down? This grid is old. It's very, very hard to replace it. There's no backup. The transformers take years to build. So just imagine if a couple of America's major grids went down, what kind of effect that would have on the United States of America. This is really scary stuff. Now, hopefully this was just a simple accident, but what are the chances of that? Is there more to this story than meets the eye? I find it hard to believe that today, all of a sudden, 50,000 people in New York City on the anniversary date from 1977 don't have power. I find that very, very coincidental. But how fragile this system really is, how old it is, and how susceptible it is to attack. We will probably never get the true story of what happened today. That doesn't matter. The bottom line is you and I have to be ready. We have to be prepared. We can't rely on the grid. We cannot rely on anything or anybody except God himself and ourselves. So think about that. Let me know what you think. Is this an accident? Is this just a simple accident, or is there more to it? Very curious to know what you think. Comment down below.